Stuart Pearce has finally come out and confirmed what many of us suspected all along. It was indeed a health scare that caused the emergency landing. The whole situation ended up making headlines, just like his previous racism controversy did, drawing a lot of attention. Recently, Stuart Pearce went through a pretty serious health scare while he was traveling back from Las Vegas. His flight had to make an emergency landing in Newfoundland, Canada, because of his condition, but this wasn't the first time Pearce found himself making headlines. Back in 1994, during a match between Nottingham Forest and Manchester United, he was accused of hurling a racial slur at Paul Ince. That incident stirred up a lot of controversy and kept the media buzzing for quite a while. But it's completely unfair to say he only got attention because of this. His performances on the field are nothing short of a masterpiece, and they've kept fans absolutely hooked. It all started from humble beginnings that it's hard to believe that someone who became such a well-known name in the game almost didn't make it. Pearce initially failed a trial at Queen's Park Rangers, and he also turned down an offer from Hull City. Instead of heading to a professional club right away, he settled in a life with his local non-league team, Wealdstone, and worked as an electrician to make ends meet. For almost 5 years, Pearce was Wealdstone's first-choice fullback and one of the standout names in non-league football. He became a key player in the Alliance Premier League, and it was here that his talent started to really get noticed. In 1983, his hard work paid off when top-flight club Coventry City made an unexpected offer of £30,000 for Pearce. Back then, that was a huge sum for a semi-professional player. Sky Blues manager Bobby Gould had seen Pearce in action and was impressed by his determination and combative attitude. Pearce wasn't sure about leaving his non-league roots behind, but eventually he agreed to make the step. Up that he made his professional debut for Coventry City soon after, and there was no looking back. Pearce's time at Coventry was marked by his tough, uncompromising style as a left back. He earned a reputation for playing hard but fair, and it didn't take long for him to show the football world what he was capable of. Just 2 years later, in 1985, Pearce was brought to Nottingham Forest by manager Brian Clough. The transfer was part of a combined deal that saw Coventry centre back Ian Butterworth also move to Forest. Even with this new professional chapter, Pearce wasn't entirely sure about his future in the game, and at one point, he even advertised his services as an electrician in Forest's matchday program. But as time went on, Pearce started to make a name for himself at Forest. He spent 12 years at the club, most of them as club captain. During his time at the City Ground, Pearce won 2 League Cups and the Full Members Cup, that he even scored a memorable free kick in the 1991 FA Cup final. Although Forest ended up losing to Tottenham Hotspur, he was a constant figure at the back for Forest, and his leadership qualities shone through. Pearce was one of the players who had to deal with the tragic aftermath of the Hillsborough disaster in 1989, that during the FA Cup semi-final between Forest and Liverpool, he was one of the players who witnessed the horror of the disaster. The match was eventually rescheduled, and Pearce played in the replay at Old Trafford, which Liverpool won 3-1. Despite the tragedy, Pearce helped lead Forest to a third-place finish in the league that season. Just as they had the year before, Pearce's impact wasn't just on the field, though he was a rock for Forest, both literally and figuratively, and he helped the team win the League Cup and Full Members Cup in the years that followed. In 1991, despite giving Forest an early lead against Tottenham in the FA Cup final, Pearce ended up on the losing side as Spurs came from behind to win 2-1. That was a tough pill to swallow, but Pearce's resilience showed through. The following season, Forest lost 1-0 to Manchester United in the League Cup final, which meant Pearce missed out on a Wembley appearance. The early 90s were a roller coaster for Forest. In 1993, they were relegated from the Premier League, and soon after, Brian Clough resigned after 18 years in charge. However, Pearce decided to stay at the City Ground, and he helped lead the team back to the top flight as Division 1 runners-up. He also captained Forest to a third-place finish in the Premier League in 1995, and they reached the quarterfinals of the UEFA Cup in 1996. But by the 1996-97 season, things started to go downhill for Forest. The team struggled in the league, and manager Frank Clark resigned in December. With Clark's departure, Pearce was appointed as caretaker player-manager of Forest. His first match in charge was a league game at home against Arsenal. Pearce admitted in an interview that, in his first attempt at picking his starting 11, he forgot to include goalkeeper Mark Crossley. Thankfully, Forest still managed to win the match 2-1. With Alfie Holland scoring both goals, Pearce's role as caretaker manager didn't last long, though that he later shared the job with Dave Bassett, and unfortunately, Forest were relegated, finishing at the bottom of the league. After 12 years at Forest, Pearce left the club on a free transfer at the end of the 1996-97 season. He joined Newcastle United, where he reunited with other football veterans like John Barnes and Ian Rush under manager Kenny Dalglish. Pearce made it to the 1998 FA Cup final with Newcastle, but once again, he ended up on the losing side. His time at Newcastle was somewhat isolated, especially after Ruud Gullit replaced Dalglish as manager. Gullit had a strained relationship with some of the senior players, including Pearce, Barnes, and Rob Lee, and Pearce was eventually relegated to the reserves. It's clear from Pearce's autobiography that he felt sidelined by Gullit, who seemed threatened by the experienced players in the squad. In fact, Pearce even recalls an incident where he kicked Gullit in the air during a training session, with some teammates snickering in support. After falling out of favor at Newcastle, Pearce joined West Ham United in 1999. His debut came on August 7, 1999, in a 1-0 win against Tottenham Hotspur. Pearce's first goal for the club came a year later, in October 2000, in a 2-1 loss to Arsenal. Despite a tough season, Pearce was named Hammer of the Year in 2001 after making 50 appearances and scoring 3 goals. In the summer of 2001, Pearce made one final move in his career, joining Manchester City as Kevin Keegan's first signing. Pearce captained City to the First Division Championship and scored a direct free kick on his debut against Watford in the final game of his career. Against Portsmouth, Pearce had the chance to score his 100th career goal. Unfortunately, he missed a penalty in the final moments, and with that, his playing days came to an end. But Pearce's story didn't stop there. In 2016, at the age of 53, he signed as a player for Longford, a non-league side in Gloucestershire. The team was struggling, having lost all their games and sitting at the bottom of the Gloucestershire Northern Senior League Division 2. Pearce made his debut for Longford as a substitute in a 1-0 loss to Watton Rovers on March 12, 2016. It wasn't the fairy tale ending, but showed that Pearce's love for the game never truly faded. After retiring from playing, Pearce stayed at Manchester City as a coach under manager Kevin Keegan. Then, in March 2005, just a few years after retiring, he was named caretaker manager. When Keegan left, Pearce's first big win came against Liverpool in April 2005, with Kiki Muzampa scoring a last-minute volley to secure the victory. After a solid run of form that brought City close to UEFA Cup qualification, Pearce was handed the job full-time. Unfortunately, in the final game of the season, City drew 1-1 with Middlesbrough, and a missed penalty from Robbie Fowler kept them from securing a European spot. The following season, 2005-06, started well, but the team's form collapsed, finishing 15th in the Premier League after losing 9 of their last 10 games. They were also knocked out of the League Cup by League One's Doncaster Rovers. Pearce built a reputation for being fair and honest, always refusing to blame referees for mistakes, which earned him respect. Some even suggested he might succeed Sven-Goran Eriksson as England manager. However, 2006-07 was a rough year for City, with the team flirting with relegation. Again, they were knocked out of the League Cup, this time by Chesterfield, and struggled to score goals, especially at home, where they managed just 10 goals all season. Pearce was let go at the end of the season in May 2007. In the meantime, Pearce had also been appointed manager of the England under-21s in February 2007, while still managing City. Under his leadership, England reached the semi-finals of the 2007 UEFA under-21 championships, only to lose on penalties to the Netherlands. This success led to him becoming the full-time manager of the U21s in July 2007. Pearce's role with England grew further when Fabio Capello appointed him as a coach for the senior team in 2008 after Capello resigned. Pearce had a brief spell as caretaker manager of the senior team in 2012, losing 3-2 to the Netherlands in a friendly in 2014. Pearce returned to Nottingham Forest as manager. He made an impressive start, with the team winning 4 of their first 5 matches. However, injuries to key players and a series of poor results saw Forest's form drop, despite a few memorable wins, including beating Derby County to reclaim the Brian Clough Trophy. Pearce was sacked in February 2015, with Forest sitting mid-table in the championship. After that, Pearce had a short stint at Portsmouth before joining former club West Ham United in 2017 as an assistant to David Moyes. He stayed at West Ham until the end of the 2017-18 season and returned in 2020 as a first-team coach. Pearce left the club after the 2021-22 season to pursue other interests. That's a wrap for today's video. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss an update. Catch you soon.